Hello and welcome to this edition of the Inspiring Women series. I have with me today three leaders who spent more than 2 decades in the IT industry and at Infosys. It's my pleasure to welcome them onto this session. First, let me begin with Kasturika. Kasturika is a senior industry principal and is based out of Bhubaneswar. She has 23 years of experience in the IT industry and with Infosys. Welcome, Kasturika, to the show. With that, let me move to our second leader, Nishi. Nishi is a senior principal technology architect based out of Bangalore. She too has spent 23 years at Infosys. Nishi, welcome to this show. Let me move all the way to Pune to welcome Priti. Priti is a senior unit quality head and has also spent 23 years with Infosys. Variety of roles: software engineering, quality assurance, risk management, and of course, program management. Welcome to the series, Preeti. We'd be interested in understanding how you've navigated your careers and what have been your pearls of wisdom, those nuggets that you'd like to share with other leaders. So let me invite Kasturika to share her thoughts on what's been the career journey for her. 23 years, all of it in the utilities domain.
I joined Infosys in 98 in Bhubaneswar, DC. It was a very small setup back then with just under 100 people in the DC. Currently, I'm a senior industry principal with our domain consulting group in ECS ADM. And as you said, I have worked entire tenure in utility industry. For the first few years, I started as a mainframe developer, a technical lead, and then a project manager. Back in 2009, when we wanted to start Domain Center of Excellence as a focus group and competency within our utilities vertical, I helped set that focus group with a small group of domain SMEs. This was exciting for me as I was working in my core competency, being from electrical engineering background, but at the same time challenging since it was something new and there was no real precedence to this kind of domain competency group. Today, our utilities domain consulting group is more than 500 members strong, and we run some of the largest transformations in our industry. Utilities has been one of the fastest growing verticals within Infosys, and I'm proud to say that a lot of it is dependent on the solutioning and competency that our team has set up. I believe that focusing on understanding utility industry domain and business has allowed me to really differentiate myself within the organization. The other thing I would point out is having diversity of roles at work locations. As each has its own charm and learning. In my 2+ decades, I've spent close to half of it in on-site in different US locations, even starting new clients, right from contracting stage, and a rest of it in India. I believe that this kind of playing senior roles, both at on-site and offshore, has given me the well-balanced exposure, both from client and market expectations perspective, as well as internal delivery operations and cross-unit collaboration as well, which is so very important in an organization like ours.
Thank you very much for that, Kasturika. Nishi, if I could request you to share your career highlights, and especially given the fact that you're a technology leader. Most of it you've spent in understanding emerging tech and looking at innovations in tech.
I also joined Infosys a long time back in 1997. I joined in Bangalore. And in my initial years, I worked on projects with a telecom equipment manufacturer. And I worked across different locations in India, US, and Canada. Later, I moved on projects for telecom service providers. And I had opportunity to work with operators in Caribbean, Middle East, Europe, Africa, and Asia Pacific. And this experience of working with equipment manufacturer as well as with telecom service provider across different geographies was quite enriching for me. This set good foundation for me in telecom. And over next few years, I started working along with our technology partners and standards organization on joint solutions for emerging technologies and business trends. Currently, in my role, I lead architecture consulting, architecture assessment, technology solutions in areas of digital transformation, cloud automation, and 5G. And my diverse experience working with global clients actually helps me lead team of architects. And here my sports experience also helps me, being strong and being able to receive, a change as required, right? Adopt with the change. And this year I received a W Equity Tech Exemplar Award for my achievements. Telecom industry has been changing at a very fast pace. Like over last 3 decades, we have moved from fixed line to 2G, 3G, 4G, and now we are talking about moving to 5G, right? We have even moved from on-premise to cloud-based deployments, right? And adopting agile ways of working, right? This whole, even operators, if you look at, they are moving to ecosystem offerings and to platform business model. And my work requires depth in telecom domain as well as technologies. So looking at this, continuous learning and evolution has been an important aspect for me. And I believe that we can succeed only if we have right competencies and right content. And it's extremely important to continuously build on this. So we must step up to pick new skills, upskill ourselves, new experience via the right opportunities. The next thing that I would like to highlight is building network, and collaborating is another key aspect. As I mentioned earlier, I contribute to industry forums and communities, and it helps me get connected with SMEs and leaders in telecom industry, and helps me create opportunities for my team as well. What I wanted to highlight is we can take inspiration from others, but we need to create our own recipe for growth. We all have different competencies, different dependencies, priorities. We just need to identify our core strengths and leverage on those strengths, right? And lastly, I would suggest believing in yourself, right, and choosing to challenge the status quo. That has been the mantra for me.
Priti, software engineer from into quality assurance, risk management, program management. You've actually also had quite a diversity of roles. What's been your career trajectory, and what are your reflections on the same?
Thanks, Sushanth. So just looking back, I always say that my story really started with a simple dream that I wanted to be bread earner of the family. I belong to a fairly conservative Rajasthani family, so stepping out for a job for women itself was a taboo in those years. So having joined Infosys in '98 as a software engineer, it's looking back, 23 years. It's been a great journey, and it's a proud moment because initial years when I worked with the telecom clients and traveled on site, that was a first and unheard of in my set of families. So really looking back, it sees, it's very important to have an uncompromisable dream and then, work hard towards it. I've always borrowed this advice from Sheryl Sandberg's book Lean In, where she says that, your career trajectory is not necessarily climbing up a ladder. It's like a jungle gym. So explore options. You sometimes have to take turns, slow down. And that's exactly what looking back, see my career, that I've always explored options internally, whatever suited my personal and professional aspirations at that point in time, and not necessarily, always wanting to climb up, but explore options which suit your needs the most.
Kasturika, if I could begin with you, what have been some of the challenges that you faced as you did this career journey? And when you think about those challenges, do you believe there are any of them which might have been unique to you because you are a woman who's been a leader? And do you believe that there may be something that might be similar that other women who are leaders might face?
Yeah, no, definitely. So, one of the things that I think to start out is networking and socializing in common forums still is a challenge for women leaders, right? I mean, while at lower levels, the percentage of women is still good, as we grow up, I think the percentage comes down, and really doing conversations outside work gets limited. For example, I have personally traveled on-site business trips to large deal war rooms where I'm the only lady, right? While my male colleagues and leaders have been very helpful in those instances, it is definitely true that having more women colleagues would have been more comfortable in those, large deal midnight war rooms that we do. Similarly, I think same thing extends to common interaction points on topics of sports or politics in casual forums, right? I mean, women definitely have lesser interest on these topics. So finding topics which can be common ground conversations beyond regular work, both internally and in client environments, is something that we need to prepare for more, right? The other one I would point out is frequent business travels can be more challenging for leaders who are women because of different kind of family and kids commitments. I have had the same demands from my role, and I try to overcome that by better upfront planning. And I think our generation is probably that transition generation who's here to take in the change. And it is really up to us as individuals how we utilize the opportunities that come our way and make best use of them as the society changes in the future.
Nishi, if I can, from there move to when you're looking at navigating your career, you need to be able to prioritize and keep in mind certain development activities. And there would be either a routine or there would be certain things that you tell yourself that, hey, this is something that I need to provide importance to. So when you look at those kind of development activities for your career, is there something that you do separately as a routine, or do you have a mental model? Anything that you can share with us?
I'm principal architect, and I have to be ahead in terms of architecture responsibilities, right? I take out some time to catch up on new technologies by reading and at times doing proof of concepts. As part of my job, I try to take up opportunities which allow me to upskill and show differentiation while adding value. As I'm associated with different standards organizations and I also collaborate with our technology partners, I regularly participate in industry interactions, and that gives me an opportunity to network with SMEs in my field, collaborate with them, and learn from wider experience as well. And I believe, like Preeti said, right, I also believe career is a journey. And so I try to balance between my short term achievements, short term plans, and long term plans. For example, I took up opportunities to pick up on 5G a few years back. That point of time, there were no revenues associated with 5G. And it was mostly proof of concept, establishing some frameworks, some standards, etc. But those efforts have helped influence business opportunities now. So that has helped me in staying, at par with the new emerging technologies.
Priti, as you navigate your career, organizational support becomes extremely critical. How has it been for you as an experience? Have you received organizational support? And if so, what kind of a difference has it made?
Absolutely, Sushant. I think without the support from the organization and families, of course, I don't think anyone would have been able to reach at the career junctions that we are. So basically, Infosys as an organization is an equal opportunity that applies both to men and women equally. So, having employee-friendly policies like work from home, part-time working, sabbatical, I've explored all of those, utilized a lot of those to be able to stay in the career. So like I said earlier, sometimes even to be able to slow down, you have to be able to explore some of these options and policies which Infosys as an organization has always given. The other thing I've greatly benefited is the flexibility of moving around in functions within the organization. So there is a lot of flexibility in choosing different job profiles within the organization, and that has helped me tremendously. Last but not the least, I think Infosys as an organization is very inclusive of the families. So what happens is, when the family gets to attend events, is part of our ceremonies, they get to see the love that we have for our jobs, and hence they become supportive. So during one of our award ceremonies, when we were invited on the award night, the families were given a certificate of acknowledgement and appreciation, saying it's because of their support the employees been able to reach that.
What we'd like to now move to, and if I can bring Nishi in, is the ecosystem support that we've received as leaders. So Nishi, allies become very important when we do this career journey. If I could ask you, how have men become allies to you as you've done your career journey?
So it's not specific about men, but I believe it's about ecosystem. And we should acknowledge that women are just another team member, and they should be treated at par. However, women need a more balanced environment to grow and to succeed both personally and professionally. For example, long hours versus productive hours. Women typically like to have more productive hours, right? And so small things like effective meetings, better planning, and flexibility in working hours, working location can go a long way in making the workplace more conducive for women. We should give equal opportunities to all team members for taking up challenging roles and not assume that women team members will not be ready to pick up demanding tasks. In fact, on many occasions, my female team members have picked up additional responsibilities for career enrichment and satisfaction.
Preeti, if I can bring you in here, staying with the concept of allies and to the point that Nishi mentioned, right? How have you been an ally to other women who are leaders, either who worked in your team or who work closely along with you?
So I think over the years, I've had the chance to work with multiple women managers and also have had significant number of women in my teams. And the kind of empathy one can show goes a long way. So usually, no specific instance where I would have done something specific for an employee or a colleague, but I've always tried to say that as women, as other lead members, should stay on, should not quit. A lot of times we've seen that women usually live with the dilemma of staying on to the job or quitting because of the personal constraints or challenges. So just being able to support them, saying that at least you can hold on, explore, like I said, mentioned earlier, explore alternate options within the organization rather than quitting. It's okay to slow down. Those kind of inputs and support have gone a long way in ensuring that the women stick on to the career rather than quitting. So that's something which I've personally always canvassing, saying it's okay to slow down, but at least stick on to the job as long as you can.
There is this entire chatter about the new normal, the new opportunities, and all of that. And we are seeing conflicting reports. Some of saying, look, it's a phenomenal opportunity to bring in a diversity of folks. But at the same time, we are also finding that a lot of women are finding it extremely challenging to manage things on the home front. The interesting part around the new normal is that it seems to be providing a dichotomy in terms of how it would provide either an opportunity or a challenge to women who are leaders. Nishi, if I can get your thoughts going on this.
It's like challenging and at the same time providing more opportunities. So in new normal, when everybody is working from home, I think it's very difficult to segregate between work and personal responsibilities, right? Everybody is at home and they have certain expectations from you, right? So in that sense, it's little challenging. But at the same time, if you can involve your family, you have the right support system, then you can manage things. So for example, travel, right? So before this I used to have a lot of travel, but now in this new normal, right, I can manage a lot of stuff, lot of meetings from home, and that gives me more time to spend time with family, to catch up on my hobbies, and to catch up on what I wanted to do at workplace as well, something additional.
So completely agree on the involving the family in your day-to-day things. So what I've realized is, as or passively as one of the best practices I've been doing, is sharing my calendar on almost on a daily basis with my son, who's a teenager now, saying that when do I have critical meetings during the day when I completely cannot afford to be disturbed, versus some flexible hours where we can talk during the day also. So it makes a lot more situation conducive at home to be able to work and make sure that you get the critical time versus when you're flexible. So like I mentioned earlier, also involving the family makes them much more empathetic, and you also understand when they would need their solo time, so you plan your calendars accordingly. So that's something which I have been doing almost on a daily basis during my work from home and his virtual classes.
I think with work from home, less requirement for travel, our avenues of opportunities of interacting with clients and partners sitting at home has increased so much more, right? Earlier, we would say no to certain business meetings because we could not travel at that point of time due to some restrictions or something going on. But today, because everyone is working virtually, we are able to participate in so many other meetings that we would say no to earlier. But I think what is important also is to balance it out so you don't burn off, right? So take your time off. If you're working through the evening for a workshop that is happening in US hours, make sure you take your time off during the day to balance it out so that you have the longer runway rather than, just collapsing too soon and too quick.
How does one develop one's career for this new normal? But when you look at the new normal and the changing face of technology, what's your advice to people who are stepping into a technology career now? What do you think they need to be doing from a career development standpoint?
My mantra and advice to the people who are joining would be don't get into comfort zone, right? I think one thing even this pandemic has taught us that we might think we know everything, but we don't, even after so many months of the virus. So same as with technology. Technology will evolve over a period of time. And if you think you know something, you need to go and reskill yourself to the next skill that is coming out in the market, right? Similarly, working in a particular client, you might become an expert in that particular client, but then unless you go and work in 2 or 3 telecom clients or 2 or 3 utility clients, you will never develop that point of view for that industry. So don't get into comfort zones. While it might be easy, way to get out and a comfortable working environment, it is important to challenge yourselves and keep changing as things move on.
It's very important to keep learning new things. And as a organization, we have a great learning platform, Lex, where it gives you the flexibility to learn anytime in small and intense courses. So make sure that take some time out on a regular basis to keep learning on the upcoming technologies, and not just in your mainstream. Explore the other related industries, related concepts. So that you stay tuned to what's happening across industries. Also, that's extremely important.
It's important to identify the passion and also to seek support and guidance when required. So I wanted to highlight that I'm fortunate to work with a woman leader who has created a niche for herself within the organization and in the industry as well. And I would like to emphasize that it's important to be associated with a mentor because it gives you a wider perspective.
If I were to request all of you for one mantra that you would tell the next set of women who are leaders to follow in their career, right, based on your experience, what would that be?
See, we all wear multiple hats. For me, it is prioritize and choose your hat for the day and the hour.
I think for me, it would be that, you have one non-compromisable dream at any point in time in your life. It's okay to change it based on the needs, but have at least one non-compromisable dream.
I would like to reiterate because it's very important. This is what I feel. You have to believe in yourself, and you have to, once you've identified your passion, you have to choose to challenge the status quo in different aspects.